Hey guys, thank you guys for tuning in to this video with Note Investing with Gene Davis in Richmond, Virginia. It's at our local meetup in Richmond, Virginia. Would love to see you guys there and participate. We host these things once a month. We put a lot of time and energy in organizing and setting up the space for people to come and learn. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help me continue on making content. If you guys have any comments or any topics that you guys want to learn about, feel free to put them in the comments below, and hopefully you guys can enjoy and learn some of the knowledge that Gene will be sharing with you in this video.
All right, raise your hands. How many people here are familiar with what a mortgage note is? Okay, good. All right, so I won't have to necessarily go through all of it. I'll kind of skim through it. This will be very interactive. So you guys have questions, shoot it out. But the long and the short of it, a mortgage note, or a promissory note, is nothing but a fancy IOU. That's really it. Let's see, let me skip to this. So I don't need to go to that. Oh yeah, perfect. All right, just skip that. Super slow. All right, so there's like two different types of notes. You guys are familiar with those are? Okay, so like you have secured, which is basically a promise to pay that's backed by something. It's collateralized by something. Like your car, you have a promise to pay on that. You have an IOU on that. You don't pay it, your car gets repossessed. Then you have credit cards. That's not secured by anything. They have no recourse if you don't pay it back. So that's kind of like the difference between that. That's why I was just saying, but your house has a promissory note. Like when you buy your house, you sign a promissory note. That's a promise to pay to the bank. If you don't pay it, they'll take the house. So your house is the collateral for that promissory note. Same thing like with a car. The mortgage basically gives the bank the repo power to your house. So if you don't make your mortgage payment, they foreclose. Or like a car, they repossess it. Same concept. I didn't realize all these animations. All right, so this is where it gets fun. Fannie Mae, you guys are familiar with what Fannie Mae is, like federal, okay. So a lot of, back in, I think it was like 1928 or something like that, Fannie Mae has, they created a secondary market. So basically, they allowed regular, everyday people to buy notes, mortgage notes. The only problem was it was usually bought by super rich banks, insurance companies, wealthy families, basically the uber rich individuals. It wasn't for everyday people. But then the 2008 crash happened, and they kind of had to open it up to everybody because that was a whole debacle. It was a whole lot of things, so they just opened it up to everyday people. And that's how the secondary market was created. You just skip through it. You skip? All right, how many people here own a house? Under like your personal house? How many of you got a letter in the mail that says, oh, you got your mortgage, you might have got it through Wells Fargo, but then you got a letter that says, hey, from now on, send your payments here. And it said, we've transferred your loan. You got that? All they did was transfer is just a real polite way of saying we sold your note. That's literally it. So the same thing that the banks are doing, we could actually do. And most people don't even realize that when they get those letters, they just say, oh, I'm just paying somebody different. They don't realize that their mortgage, their bank that they originally signed their mortgage with, just made more money off of your mortgage that you already signed with. So you can skip that. So this is a case study by my mentor, one of the guys that I'm learning from now. I'm in a notes mastermind right now. Pretty pricey, to say the least. So
What's the price?
$20,000.
$20,000?
Yeah. So I'm still, it's like basically it's teaching me the due diligence part of it, how to source notes basically from the, I don't want to say the plug, but from the actual bank, so to speak. Teaching me like the ins and outs, like the pretty much how to cross my T's and dot my I's, so to speak. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, I'm going to speak at this meetup. I needed a case study. He was like, all right, no problem. I got you. So this is actually a note that he bought. And it's basically the same exact concept that I'm doing as well. Just to kind of go through it. You can skip through it. I'm going to show you. Skip. All right, keep going. One more. All right, stop. Okay, stop right there. So the house itself, it was appraised at 180, but the mortgage balance, the actual unpaid balance is 127, 154. The interest rate that they signed on for is 8%, and they have 15 years left on that note. And this is their monthly payment. So you can press it again. That's not what he paid for it. He paid 104 for it. Now I'm gonna stop right there. That's just usually where people have questions about, because this is where I had questions about. So anybody got any questions about how he was able to buy this for 104 versus the 127 that they owe? Huh? So the actual bank that created the loan, they're gonna get this amount, but it's over 15 years. So, so basically, is money now is worth more than money later. So a bank is looking at it like, we could wait 15 years to make 127, 154, or we can get paid 104 right now. So banks are in the business of turning money, because all they're gonna do is take that 104 and then create another one of these mortgages for somebody else and keep turning the money, turning the money. Go ahead.
Is it appealing to them because the amortization of a note starts off with really high interest payments first, and since it's 15 years exactly through that note, they've already kind of bitten into the biggest chunk of interest that they're gonna make over the lifetime of the note, so that's why they're selling it at a discount?
When you say them, as in the originator of the note, that's correct. So for him, he's buying this note at 104 and they're paying 8%. Now this is where it gets fun. Press it again. Press it one more time. So he's not getting an 8% return on his 104 investment. He's actually going to get 11.5%. Reason being is because when this person makes their mortgage payments, they're making this 1215 on this balance, whereas he's receiving 8% on this balance plus the difference between the 104 and the 127, which is the 23,000. All right, go ahead. Yeah, I'll back it up. Let's back it. Go ahead. You go ahead first. All right. So he basically, the original note was for 8%. Y'all get that part, right? He's only, the borrower is paying $12.15 at 8% interest on the mortgage balance of this amount, 127. The note holder, the new note holder, my mentor, only paid 104. So that means that whenever they make this $12.15 payment, he's getting 8% on 104 plus the difference, the instant equity that he got, because this person, they're not paying $12.15 on 104. They're paying $12.15 on 127. So as a note holder, this is why it's fun, because you get instant equity day one. So he bought a note that's worth 127 for 104. Day one, he has $23,000 in instant equity. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm getting too far ahead.
Yeah.
Or what, but it seems like to do that, it would be really capital intensive.
To do what?
To continuously buy notes, right? Because you're going to buy a note for 104. Let's just say, for my model, I'm flipping houses.
Mm-hmm.
I get 104. Now I'm drained. How do I?
You are jumping ahead.
Okay.
So, all right, go ahead.
All right. My question is, does the math really add up to 11.5%? Because that 8% is over the lifetime of the,
So anybody have like a?
The main interest has already been paid for the first 15 years because the interest goes like this over time, and it's more principal that they're paying less interest.
We're not talking about over time. We're talking day one. Not even.
But it's already 15 years through the 30-year note, right?
Yes, we're just talking about, this is just the balance. So think of it like this. If you pull out a financial calculator, like a 10BII calculator, if you look at 8%, this is what the payment is of 8% on this, right? Now you have the difference of 23,000. Now you have if you basically take the payment of the 23,000, that's another 8%. So when you put that in a financial calculator and combine those two different loans as far as the interest rate, your yield is 11.5.
Over the course of the 15 years?
Over the course of the 15 years. But go ahead.
The payment of $12.15 per month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is $14,581 annually, and you would divide that by. It's a very easy, back I don't know how much, but you would divide that by 104, right? Because he only invested 104.
Right.
Right?
But every month that goes by, there's less and less of that that's actual interest.
The difference is APR and APY.
That's it. Because
The interest rate is 8%. That's the.
so simplify, super simplify it. Let's say he's the borrower and I'm the original bank. He's paying me $12.15 and 8%, right? Now I sell it to you for 104. He still owe 127. So when he make his payments, he's making the payments of 12.15 at 8% on this balance.
Right.
However, because you didn't pay this balance for it, you paid this balance, which makes your yield much bigger than the 8%. Does that make sense?
I understand that part.
So 8% just throw it out the window.
But what if you bought, let's say you bought it on year 28 out of 30.
Why would you do that?
Well, because I guess my question is why would you do it at 15? Because most of all.
I'll tell you exactly why.
Gone.
You got to erase, take the amortization calculator, the amortization schedule off the table for 1 sec, just for 1 second.
All right. Sorry.
This is where you're looking at. You're automatically getting, you do fix and flips, right? Okay. Anybody do fix and flip, right? In order for you to get equity, you have to renovate the house, right? With this, I get that equity day one without having to do anything different. That's the key difference. I'm getting equity day one. So he owes 127. I didn't pay 127 for it. He's paying 8%. That's cool, but he's paying 8% on that 127. But the difference is that equity, I'm getting additional 8% on that as well. So that's what makes the yield 11.5 versus the 8. That's the only difference. So take amortization off the table. Just day one, I get that initial bump in my yield right out the gate. Now, over time, as you see, as I'm gonna go through it, you'll see the difference, like how that number is gonna change dramatically as time goes up. Because what's gonna happen is this number is gonna go down because of amortization. This number is gonna go down, which means my spread gets bigger. You follow that?
Yeah.
You had a question, Awa? Oh no, it was you. You had a question? No, so with the notes, then you'll see this part. The best thing about a note, there's literally only 3 things that can happen. Matter of fact, not even a note. Let's say I borrow money from her. It's either I'm gonna pay you back like I agree, or I ain't gonna pay you at all. Or I'm gonna pay you back early. Anybody can think of another outcome?
Pay me back some and then stop.
Okay, that means I didn't pay you back. Right, all right, so watch, keep going. That's the 23,000. That's the difference between this and this. That's the equity day one. No amortization needed. All right, keep going. I literally just put over this. Pay as agrees, pay off early, fail to pay. All right, so this is what happens if they pay as normal. So it's 15, the same example, it's 15 years left at $12.15 per month. You guys saw what the 11.5 yield was. Keep going. Keep going. Now that's 180 is the 15 years, 180 months. That's how much profit that he made. Now you remember, he only paid 104. This is the return that he get over the time. Press it again. Press it again. That makes sense. The 218. So that's the difference between the 104 and the 218. That's his profit. That's how you get the 11.5 APY. Now this says if he paid off early. There's 15 years left. Now let's say he paid it off in year 5. Keep going. That was the balance, the unpaid balance. Keep going. Now wait, go back 1 more second. Now this was the unpaid balance. Remember there was 5 years worth of payments. That's what dropped the unpaid balance from 127 to 100. Y'all get that amortization schedule. All right, keep going. That's 60 payments, 5 years. Keep going. So now, I only paid my mentor in this situation paid 104. Over the course of 5 years, I've made back 72,000 of my 104. Keep going. Now remember, there was a $100,000 balance. Now he paid off in 5 years instead of paying it off in 15. That's how much he made on a 104 balance, on a 104 investment. So remember that 8% interest? Keep going. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Now that's 13.5. Now let's think about it. Stop for a second. If they paid as agreed, my yield was what, 11.5? If they pay me off early, I make even more money because of the amortization schedule. Now, let me stop for a second. What questions? I see everybody's eyes glazing over.
How do you crank these and churn and burn? How do you do it more without like wasting our capital?
Yes, that's where it's basically it's called hypothecation. Hypothecation. It's basically like a fancy way of saying wholesaling. So there's only but so much money in this room, right? So let's say I could come across a pool. Like I told him when I first walked in, I'm looking at a pool of notes here. I only have access to so much money. So if I come across deals, I can't buy everything. So I say, hey, Phil, do you have any lazy funds?
Sure do.
Sure you do. Okay. Hey, look, I got a pool of notes here. We can partner up on this. I'll do all the due diligence. You bring your part of the capital to it. I'll bring my part of the capital to it. And we do this. Same thing. Use same thing. So on and 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 so on.
It's kind of like syndicating almost.
It's almost like syndicating, but the difference is we do this one note together. That's it. We do this one note together. That's it. These two notes have nothing to do with each other. That's what makes it a difference between this and syndication. That's how you avoid that whole Ponzi scheme and all that. I take your money to pay him. None of that happens here. Because when I sign a promissory note to buy this, you and I sign an agreement to buy this, well, it's called an allonge. To buy this note,
What's it called?
an allonge. It's basically like it's like an assignment of mortgage. So you're assigning that mortgage to somebody else, and then the allonge is what kind of puts those together that changes ownership from you to me. So it's like, well, not we're partners, but from them to us, so to speak.
Right. So
So it's like that sort of thing. And I might have to turn, yeah, that's right. So does that make sense? All right, does this part make sense? All right, go ahead. Now this is the one where everybody's like, so what happens if I buy a note and they stop paying? This is the one that everybody worried about. Everybody's scared of that. You know why banks love this? This is the one that banks love the most. And it's unfortunate because I don't want to see nobody get their house foreclosed on. Like, you don't want to see nobody get put on the street. But keep going. So let's say 5 years. That same 5 years, instead of paying it off early, in year 5, they just stop paying completely. And they default on the loan. But over the 5 years, this is what you've collected. Keep going. The $72,000. So you put up 104, you made back the 72. Now, you got to pay for an attorney. The attorney handles the entire foreclosure process. Every state is different as far as how much it costs, but it's usually like $2,500, $3,500, somewhere. Pay the attorney, they handle everything beginning to end. You're not doing the foreclosure process. The attorneys do that part. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Now, all right. Remember in the beginning, the appraised value was 180. Now let's say 5 years later, the house could be worth 200 or it could be worth 160. But just for math's sakes, let's just say that it stayed at 180. 5 years later, that house did not change in value at all, just for math's sakes. Now that's not realistic. Like, the property value is going to fluctuate. But let's just say that it stayed at 180 5 years later. Now press the button. Keep going. So let's say we sold it. So what would happen is not just the attorney fees, but you have the agent fees. Once you foreclose on the property and take it back, I give it to Phil. Phil has to sell it. I pay his pay his percentage, closing costs, all that jazz. And over the 5 years, I've already collected this. The realtor and legal fees is the $14,000. And let's say I sold it for exactly what it appraised for 5 years ago. This is how much I made. And I'm gonna stop. So I paid 104. The house was worth 180. They stopped paying. So all of the equity that they've built over the 5 years has now been forfeited to me because they no longer they didn't hold up their end of the bargain to fulfill that agreement, that promise to pay, that IOU. They broke their end, so I take the house back. I kept the 5 years worth of payments. Does that make sense? So I paid an agent to sell it. I paid the attorney to handle the entire foreclosure process. He sold it for that same 180. Now this is how much we collected over that entire time frame. Now press the button again. Does this part make sense? Yes. All right, keep going. Now that's the yield when you look at the 104 investment versus the $238,000 that was made over 5 years from the 5 years worth of payments plus the sale of that property. So remember, they were only paying 8%. That 8%, that yield has now skyrocketed because I got 5 years worth of payments plus I got the chance to take the property back and resell it to somebody else and recoup all the equity. So you see how as the bank, you never lose. And at no point did you have to deal with any contractors, material costs, toilets, tenants, taxes, none of that. I didn't say nothing about taxes because I don't own the house, I own the debt. The person that's the borrower, they're responsible for the taxes. Does that make sense? Insurance, that's his. It's not my property. When I looked at this and it was so, and I'm like, did I miss something here? Now, when y'all saw this, did I miss something, or did y'all see anything that I might have missed here? So like when I found notes and I looked at it, I'm like, okay, I don't have to deal with the tenants, the toilets, taxes, maintenance, insurance, none of that. All I'm doing is buying a piece of paper. I'm buying the debt behind it and just collect the monthly payment on it. And then I look at the possible outcomes. And I thought about fix and flips. I thought about wholesaling. I thought about rentals. I thought about Airbnb, midterm, short term, pad split, all these other things. Go ahead.
How are these profits taxed?
Great question. Most people who buy notes buy them in IRAs or life insurance policies. Now, as far as the tax is concerned, it just depends if you buy it in a traditional IRA or a Roth. That just depends, or whatever.
They try to basically grow it tax-free that way, right?
Say that one more time.
So they try to grow the profits tax-free because those aren't.
That makes, yeah. Right. I mean, that makes the most sense. You wouldn't want to do this in your savings account.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's the same concept. Like if you do a fix and flip, where are you putting that money at?
Exactly. Check.
Same I wouldn't put this in my checking account though. No. I would, yeah, go ahead.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
So if the borrower decides to not re-up on their insurance, who takes care of that portion?
The mortgage company, me. That's force-placed insurance. You ever?
So the bank's gonna force place an insurance on the.
I gotta protect my investment.
Okay, so what does that cost usually?
There's a premium. So think of it. If your regular annual insurance is $700, I'm probably gonna charge you $1,000 for my time.
Okay.
And that's not something that I do. Usually what happens is when you're the lien holder, you're not servicing these notes yourself. You hire a servicing company. That's why when you guys get those letters that say, hey, send your payment here, 9 times out of 10, the person listed on there is not the person that owns your mortgage. It's the servicing company. So the lien holder, the person that owns the note, hires the servicer to take care of escrowing for taxes, escrowing for insurance. They're the first person to know that you don't have insurance, which is why when you buy a house, they have you put the servicer on your insurance. That's how they prevent that. So if the servicer finds out, oh, there was no payment, guess what? In my promise to pay, there's force-placed insurance, and there's going to be a tax for that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the other thing, yeah, go ahead.
Question. So when you and your mentors are the ones trying to figure out which note to buy,
Yes.
how do they calculate that? Is it like an area or specific, or do they look for where their home, what zip codes most foreclosed on?
So just to avoid going too deep in the weeds, I'll just give you like a high level because that's a whole different class.
Okay.
That's due diligence. So when you're looking at a note, there's a couple different key things you want to look at. If you're buying a seller finance note, your focus is on the borrower, right? That you're making that, make sure that that person is able to pay. Whereas if you're buying like a traditional note, you're looking at the asset, because what you want to look at is, okay, you're going to hire get a BPO. Is this house really worth 180? And you're also looking at, okay, not only that, you're going to end up getting a private, like if they're paying, you want to make sure like, okay, is their payment history on time, or is it sketchy? They pay in 2-3 months here, then they take a month off, 2-3 months here. Those are like scratch and dent notes. If they're paying like that, I'm gonna deduct how much I pay you for that, because their pay history is not clean. So you're gonna look at the pay history, you're gonna look at a BPO, you're gonna also look at how it was underwritten. Did they go through, if it was a traditional note, 9 times out of 10, actually 9 times out of 9, they're going through an RMLO, because you have to get underwritten like a bank. If it's yeah.
What's a BPO and an RMLO?
Oh, okay, yeah, my fault. A BPO is like a broker price opinion. Like a broker would say, okay, these are the comps, this is what the value of that house is in its current condition. A RMLO is like a registered mortgage loan officer. Basically, they just want to make sure that you underwritten that person to make sure that they're Dodd-Frank compliant, that you didn't make a predatory loan to somebody. That kind of covers you as the lien holder as well. Because I could just say to you, you say to me, hey, I want to buy this house. And I'm like, hey, you got $10,000? You say, yeah, all right, cool, now you got the house. But I took your $10,000, but you can't afford the monthly payment. I never underwritten you to see that you could actually afford it. I just made you a predatory loan. Now I can get sued for that. So you have them underwritten by RMLO to avoid all of that. RMLO, mortgage loan officer. I use them for, the other one, I'm gonna answer the other one. BPO, broker price opinion. Other question? You can skip this one. I think that might be it. Yeah, I think that's it. So this was the other thing I wanted to talk about too. I mentioned seller finance notes. There's like 3 main different types of notes. You got seller finance notes. Everybody familiar with what that is? That's mainly how most of the notes that I have, I created them. Those are seller finance notes. It's kind of like printing free money, to be honest with you. It's basically you create the note, and then you have private money, like a private money lender. That note, that's a whole different, like hard money loans, private money lenders. That's a whole different type of loans. And then you have traditional ones, like from a bank. So there's 3 different types. They're all valued differently because they're all underwritten differently. So like a traditional one will probably be higher valued. A private money one would probably be second. And then the seller finance note would probably be the cheapest. Because most seller finance, people who create seller finance, most of them don't use an RMLO. So because of that, I'm at a higher risk if I buy that note, because you didn't underwrite that borrower to make sure that they can afford it. So I'm not gonna pay you full price for that. So that I gotta account for that if they can't afford it. So that's kind of how you price it, because you were asking like, how do you determine that? So it's like a whole bunch of different factors.
So if the seller finance note that you buy,
Yeah.
and you're at risk,
Mm-hmm.
how do you go ahead and you buy that note? You do another, I guess,
RMLO?
Yeah, on the borrower?
Yeah. No. They're already in the house.
Right.
It doesn't matter at this point. Okay. So what you would do is you would board that note, meaning have a servicer handle it, and when you do your due diligence, you're gonna do a little deeper. You may not have underwritten them with an RMLO, but you wanna check their pay history, you wanna check their credit history to make sure that they are responsible. You're gonna also make sure that they've been making the tax payments on it, because if you bought a seller finance note, if they didn't underwrite them, they probably didn't service the note. They're probably collecting the payments Venmo or Cash App, you know what I mean? So you don't know if the taxes are being paid, you don't know none of that. All of that's gonna be accounted in the price. So it's really no such thing as a bad note, it's just a bad price. That's it.
And then within those 3 different categories, you know, what's the LTV, like loan to value, like that you buy at 7, maybe like 80% of the mortgage ones, and then like, you know.
So that's like a preference thing. That's like, are you a buy and hold, or you're a fix and flipper?
Right.
It's like some people buy based on loan to value, some people buy based on yield. I look at the yield. I don't really care about the loan to value. I want to see how much money I'm going to make from it. No more questions? Y'all quiet.
I'm working.
So the next question is like, where can you find these
Oh.
notes?
That was waiting for somebody to ask me that. So y'all familiar with the MLS? MLS is where you buy physical properties. There's marketplaces for the secondary market, like paperstack.com, debexpert.com. There are like marketplaces for just unsecured and secured debt that banks kind of offload to get off their books, and that's where you buy those. That's considered on market for notes. Then you have, like with real estate, you have off market. Off market would be title companies, mortgage brokers, real estate attorneys, probate attorneys, foreclosure attorneys, asset managers. All those people, think of it, the easiest way to think about off market, just like with physical houses, think about everybody that might be involved in a real estate transaction. What touch point do they have? Do they have any touch point with the actual promissory note at any given point? Like, for example, a title company might get a private money lender that might be, let's say you do a fix and flip. You get a private money lender, a private money loan. The title company would handle the promissory note that your private money lender gives to you to handle the fix and flip. That note, that title company is now a lead, because you can say, hey, listen, any of those private money lenders, do you think they want to, let's say you might do a year. That's how much, I don't know, private money might be more than a year, 2 years, 3, whatever. Any of them you think they want to get their money faster? Or even a hard money lender. How many hard money loans do they have? That means that all of their capital is deployed. Now they got to wait to get it back. Hey, call me. I might be able to buy that hard money loan from them and get them paid quicker so that they can redeploy that money somewhere else. So these are leads. So think of it like that's off market. Does that make sense? Same thing with like your attorneys. How many times an attorney got to draw up paperwork for a note? That's a lead. Hey, any of your clients have notes that they're waiting to be paid back for? Give me a call. You got to take the same mindset that you would take with a physical house and just kind of take a step back, like a 1,000-foot view. Okay, who else could I reach out to and just buy the paper as opposed to the actual house?
Now, to buy those deals, here, go ahead.
Yeah.
Buy those deals, do you use the same title company or attorney to like do the transfer?
That's your preference.
Okay, so it can be
That's a preference.
Hey, Gene, give me the scoop. Like, so how do I OPM this? Like,
So I do that.
that's what I'm saying.
So that's where I meant by hypothecate. So let's say this note right here. Phil got $104,000. He don't know. He don't want to go through the due diligence. He don't want to go through all of that. He just want his money working for him. That's what most private money lenders do. They don't want to learn about roofs and all of that, roofs or whatever how you say that. They don't care about that. They just want to know that their money is safe and their money is going to be returned to them. And to be real with you, if I'm a private money lender, I much rather buy the note than to lend to an LLC to do a fix and flip. Because now I'm at the subject to how good your contractor is. I'm at the subject to how the market fluctuates. I'm at the subject to if you could finish on time. I'm at the subject to, are you going to pay me back? And then you're going to ask for an extension or all these other risks. Whereas I know this person's already paying. And if they ain't paying, I'm buying it at an even deeper discount. My money's even more secure. And I don't have any of those overhead risks.
What about the amount of time? So like for a flip,
Mm-hmm.
a private money lender or hard money lender, they're going to give it to you for 9 to 12 months. Whereas if you raise that capital and you get somebody to buy a note, they're in it for 15
No, not really. On average, private money, on average, anybody that's like you're partnering with on a note is usually like 3 to 5 years. Because, excuse me, let's say, for example, this person did not pay. I bought that note. Going through the whole foreclosure process might take 6 months, might take 2 years. Their money's parked. It's in a retirement account. It's not like that's their everyday funds. But when that thing do pay off, they're going to get a 17.6%. Well, not get all of that because we're hypothecating it. I'm going to come to you with a different number. I'm going to say, hey, if you're not getting, let's say you're getting 4%, I can give you 8. I don't know what's going to happen with that note. I just need to know that it makes sense. So if I can promise, I feel comfortable promising you 8% because I know if they pay as agreed, I can give you 8 and I can keep the spread. If they pay off early, I can give you 8, I can keep the spread, and so on and so on. So let's say in year 5, you say, you know what? I'm ready to get my money back. And they're paying as agreed. Okay, cool. I can now sell that note and pay you back. And I keep the spread. So it doesn't really matter. Like, so I have a lender now, her money's with me for 6 years. Actually, I have 2 of those. Her money's with me for 6 years. I've paid her back twice already. So it's like, because what ended up happening was I bought the note and I'm like, I don't really like how this was doing. Desi, can you help me? And he helped me sell the note. I got her money back and gave it to her. And the reason was because I wasn't comfortable where I was then. But now I'm like, okay, I got a better grasp of this now. So then I borrowed her money again. Her money's parked. Go ahead.
Did you hypothecate on that note?
I did.
So you, all right, I see where you're going with it.
But I'm not.
What
Yeah, go ahead.
ways can this go wrong? Because we have the 3 outcomes, but if you just buy the note at the wrong price, that's pretty much the only way.
Yes. So this is where it can go wrong. Nothing's perfect. I would tell you, I mean, just like with any investment, there's risk. If I don't do the due diligence correctly, and let's say when I do the numbers on this and I run the numbers, I'm like, okay, if they pay as agreed, I can get 11.5. Let's say my numbers were off. And it's really not 11.5, it's really 9%. Now that means that I've basically made enough just to give you your money back. I make not a dime. Or let's say I calculated it even worse than that. But that doesn't really happen in the note space because you get equity day one. You're not going to buy a note at full price. That just doesn't happen in the note space. So for you to lose money, you got to really be trying to lose money. Like, it just doesn't happen. That's good. The easiest way to think about it is, how many times do the banks make a bad loan? 2008. That was the last time banks did a bad loan. That's how all of this happened.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how you got into the real estate space? And
Oh, I skipped over all that, didn't I? Damn, my bad. I skipped over all that. I started wholesaling like everybody else. I still hate it to this day. And I found that I started getting a little bit of momentum when I started. Even though I hated it, I was getting kind of good at it. And I kept wholesaling to the same buyers. And then I ended up, one of my buyers was like, yo, why don't you keep some of these properties? I'm like, I don't have the money. And she was like, well, I'll lend it to you. I'm thinking, wow, like I must have hit the jackpot, not knowing that she was just giving me a hard money loan with points and all of that. So fast forward, I borrowed her money. I would wholesale, then I started doing fix and flips. Did a couple fix and flips. He'll tell you, I hated that part too. Him and I did a couple of them actually. I hated that side because I don't like dealing with contractors. And then I'm like, well, that's too transactional. I need the monthly money. So then I ended up doing the BRRRR strategy. Going through the refinance process, I'd rather go to the dentist with no Novocaine. So I realized I don't like that either. And that's when I came across sub 2. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to do a BRRRR. You can do sub 2. And that's how I fell into the sub 2 program. And I started doing those. And then I'm like, I don't want to be a landlord either. I don't like this. And I remember, I forgot exactly how I did this, but I think I was just Googling like how to make your renter a owner. And I found Eddie Speed, and he's like note guy. So I went down that YouTube rabbit hole like, wait a minute, you could buy a house sub 2 and then sell it on seller finance, and now they're responsible for the maintenance, taxes, and all that stuff. I just found out what I want to do. And that's kind of how I fell into notes. And then I mainly just started creating. I was creating them notes for maybe the past 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. And then I took all my rentals once the leases were up and converted those into seller finance notes. So I'm stepping out of, I still got a few left, but stepping out of landlord and making all those notes. And I realized after going through that whole life cycle, what type of investor I want to be. And I'll tell you, I'm lazy. I don't want to do no work. I want to be the bank. You take the problems, give me the money. That's basically what banks do. So then I realized okay, even with creating seller finance notes, you still have to acquire the property. You still have to negotiate, you still have to do all of that. And then I found out that you can actually just skip all of that and buy the note. That's when I'm okay, that's how I landed here.
You can double dip if you do sub two and then sell.
Huh?
So you can double dip if you're buying a sub two and then selling the note.
I'll give you where the next move is. The real trick is to buy the note, buy non-performing notes. There's performing, meaning they're paying, then there's non-performing, meaning they're not paying. The trick is to buy non-performing notes because those are at a deeper discount because the person's not paying. And once you send them the letters to say, hey, listen, we'll work with you, send them the offer for a loan modification. Usually they'll ignore them because they ain't paying it. Okay, cool. Have the attorneys send the foreclosure. Send it to foreclosure. When you go to foreclosure, are you guys familiar with how that works? You have all those foreclosures get auctioned off. You make the auction price full retail.
Hey, sorry that I had to snip that part of the video out. It was due to the wishes of Gene, so I want to respect and honor that. And so please enjoy the rest of the video.
So I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I don't know if this is messed up or what. But
Yeah.
let's say that I bought one of these notes that were non-performing, possibly about to get foreclosed on, right? For really cheap, right? And then of course, it gets foreclosed on, and it takes months, whatever. And then it's time to sell the house, right? Well, what if then I bought at a steep discount, the note, right? But then it forces the sale, so you have to sell it. What if I just said, Ryan, hey, you want to make a bid on this? And I was just and then he bids like 30 grand, 50. Like say I bought it for 80,000.
Right.
He puts in the offer for, and the house is worth 300, and he makes an offer for 90,000. I'm just all right, I'll take that. And then me and Ryan, he did it to trust, and
now you getting in slimy area right now.
I don't know if that.
Hey, look, I ain't no lawyer. I don't know. That's a slimy area. I don't know about that.
Is it do you, as the person who owns the note, do you choose the offer that you accept?
You usually tell the yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that one. I don't know.
All right, never mind.
I'm not touching.
I missed something. When you said the thing goes to auction, you set the reserve price at the market value?
That's something that's kind of
I mean, you said it. I just didn't catch it.
Yeah, that's kind of
Re-say it.
I would
rethink it.
I would just say you can set the price high enough that it may not be as lucrative, for an investor,
Sure.
for the competition.
And then how do you get it back?
If nobody buys it, it comes back to the lien holder.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as what you set that price at and how you come up with that, this is between you and Jesus.
So, with that being said, so let's say I'm going through foreclosure right now, and I'm talking to an attorney. He's doing all the foreclosure stuff that he does. He's trying to send a notice.
Thank you, Toya.
A notice to the borrower.
Right.
And he's doing all this thing, trying to serve him basically. And so, how long does it take for that process to kind of complete? Let's say you can't serve him for whatever reason. Can I still go through foreclosure?
So you're saying I just want to make sure I understand it. So you're saying that the attorney tries to serve the borrower, but he can't contact them. So you send a private investigator and they can't contact them.
Yeah.
You did all these things.
Right.
Honestly, that's where the lawyer would have to tell you what the next step is, to be real with you, because every state is different.
Right.
The laws are different with foreclosures, and that's like bankruptcies. It varies. Certain states may let you still do it. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. That's why you pay them, and you step away. You do your job.
Okay. So and then let's say we get a foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Do I tell the attorney to set the price? Who do I tell?
It's based on, like you said, there's a reserve, and that's where you make the price up. Like, not you make the price up, but you say, hey, this is what they owe. There's only a certain amount above that you can accept. I mean, that you can, like,
Yeah.
how can I say it? Let's say,
Tolerate.
right, like, say, yeah, it's basically.
Time loss.
All that, because you got attorney fees, court costs, all those things.
Right.
Those numbers vary, so it's only a certain amount you can go up, because you can't say your attorney fees was 30 grand, your court cost was 40 grand. You know what I mean? You can't do
Put
that.
something out there that's unreasonable. Let's say the house is worth 100 grand. You put like 200 grand.
You can't do that.
You can't do that, right? So who determines that?
So it's based off how much they owe you.
Okay. Got
That's the threshold.
it. Okay. So
And then you add the fees on top of it. That's what kind of makes the number go up. And that's that. So all right, perfect example. Here, this same example, they owe 127, right? And let's say they don't pay. You got attorney costs, you got all these other private investigator costs, holding costs, fees, all that. That number is the miscellaneous random number that you can add on top of the 127 to set your strike price at. That's the reason why I'm like, I can't really tell you what that is, because that's where it varies. Now, from an investor standpoint, let's say you buy houses at auction. You have your number in mind.
Right.
The question is, do you want to pay what they're asking? And what I'm saying is, without saying, you set that number high enough that as an investor, I'm not going to pay 85% of ARV for this house, or it doesn't make sense for me.
So what happens if no one buys it? It goes back to you. What do you do with it?
Do what you want. It's yours.
You can sell it back in the market.
You could sell it, you could Airbnb it, you could pad split it, you could do what you want with it. It's yours, because you have the note and the deed.
Okay, so okay, gotcha. So if you go sell it again, you get the note and the deed.
Mm-hmm.
You just get paid all that lump sum back, basically, right?
So where do you lose is the question. You lose time. You lose time.
Don't sell, you still.
It's your house
borrow
now.
money or get a house.
So think about it like this. Let's say it don't sell. And you like, this thing has equity. You already bought it with equity. It just depends on how much at this point, because time has passed. You can keep it as a rental. You can sell it on a wrap. You can make it a short term. You can renovate it and improve it even more. The choice is yours, because you now, think of it like you Geppetto at this point. You control what happens.
All right, cool.
And you can probably just sell it straight out too, because.
Yeah, that's what most.
Probably regulated, like REOs or bank owned, they just have to keep going through auctions, right?
Yeah, if
I
it's,
think
yeah.
If you do it,
Most-
note holder, man, you could just say, put on Facebook and.
That's what I'm saying. You can do what you want because you have both. Yeah.
So, your mentor, right, in that example, paid like 18% discount rate. So so for the three groups the buckets that you said?
You mean like the types of loans, or you
Yeah.
mean like?
So what's the discount rate like for, what's like, do you know, like, is there
We-
a set discount rate?
No.
So you just figured out?
Think of it like this. When you go buy a house, what type of discount are you going for?
No, but like.
No, I'm asking you a real question. Like when you buy a house,
Right.
who determines what discount are you asking for?
What's up?
No.
No,
You do.
Your exit.
You're like, when
Okay,
you,
got you, yeah.
so when you, it's all what you negotiate. That's really it.
So there's not like a guide.
Like you can, like if you want to say the 70% rule, like that's like a baseline. It varies. And it's based on your appetite. Like there's some people who got a boatload of money who don't really care. They'll pay par. Par is like the asking price. They won't ask for it.
Competition will come into play too, right?
Yeah, you got competition. Yeah. That's why it's all auctions. Like those marketplaces that I told you, it's all auction based. Just like what a wholesaler will put a house on investor lift. It's the same concept, same exact concept.
Like when I was called pre-foreclosure,
Say that one more time.
like when I used to call pre-foreclosure
Mm-hmm.
meetings, I usually don't offer them, like say, if they owe, I use one platform, and then, like they'll say they owe 90,000.
Right.
Right, but they're going into foreclosure
Mm-hmm.
And then I go on Zillow and I see, oh snap, it only 90, but in Zillow it said that the property is assessed at 200-something thousand.
Mm-hmm.
So then what I do if they are interested in selling, I just ask them, can you send me your mortgage statement
Mm-hmm.
so I can see all of the breakdown of the fees and etc. So I can get like an idea of okay, this is how much they really owe. Instead of 90, usually it's like a higher, like probably $100,000,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still equity there. But sometimes when I ask them a question like, hey, how much you're looking to walk away with, so I can get an idea of how much they're looking to walk with. Some of them like, hey, I just want to get rid of it. I just want $5,000.
The difference between that and in a note is that the price is already there. Huh? Right. So when somebody's selling a note, they already give you the price. Whereas with a house, you have to ask for the price and negotiate the price. That's another difference. It's a lot easier to negotiate a note because you're not dealing with the borrower. You're dealing with the lien holder. You're not dealing with somebody that has an emotional attachment to the property. You're dealing with a businessman that's trying to make their money back. It's a completely different conversation. The negotiations are different. It's about numbers. It's not about emotions. It's not about what you think it's worth. It's about this is what they owe. Are they paying? Are they not? And are they communicating with you? Are they not? How was those other due diligence pieces? It's a completely different conversation. It's not like the negotiations are different. The negotiations are more fact-based versus emotion-based.
So where do you buy the notes again?
Like on market, like you got those marketplaces, you got just like the random people, like the lawyers, the attorneys, the title companies, stuff like that. It's the reason why it's kind of like notes are not as sexy as, I bought this house, it was gutted, now I put these countertops, these floors. That's why you don't hear about it. Ain't nothing sexy about looking through a piece of paper. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why you're not gonna see this.
We gonna make it sexy.
Yeah.
Gene, how many, if you don't mind, how many notes do you?
We can stop. We done, right?
How many notes do you
We
hold
done.
now? Can you share any?
You shut me out. Say what?
How many notes do you hold now? Can you share any?
9. Well, you talking about that I've purchased or created, or just all together? I have 9. 9 right now. Yeah.
Have you had a foreclosure?
No.
Isn't that the end goal?
No.
No.
I don't want the house.
Thank you guys for watching all the way up to the end of the video. I greatly appreciate. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And in the comments, make sure you put in what topic that you guys want to see in the next meetup. Peace.